What's going on this week, Rock Marriages? It's good to be with you guys. I hope everybody is healthy. I hope you're all doing well and you're in the Word. I wanted to let you know some news. If you hadn't heard, this coming Sunday, we are going to be back live in person on the property, all worshiping together. So Sunday morning, October 4th, 10 a.m. on the property. And then that following Thursday, the 8th, we are going to meet back here, 7 p.m., together for the first time in what seems like forever. And I don't know about all of you, but I am super excited to see everyone and hear what God has been doing in your lives and in your marriages. So for me and Kelly, in our marriage, the dynamic of our family has changed greatly over the last couple of months. For those of you who don't know, several months ago, we had felt the call from the Lord that we should be doing more for children and getting into fostering. And in our new stage of life here, I've been thinking about how often I want to try and take charge of things myself. Even things like that I know God should be planning for me, that I know that He did have planned for me. So I want to start by reading Psalm 139:16 and just kind of set the tone for the night real quick. Your eyes have seen my unformed substance, and in your book were all written the days that were ordained for me, when as yet there was not one of them. How awesome is it that we have a God who takes the time to write out our story, who wants to know us intimately, and who sets things out for us and just for us individually, before we even ever were. I was reading through Judges recently, and I started to relate some of my life and emotions and feelings into probably one of the weirder spots that we would think for the marriage ministry. So if you want, I'm going to have you guys turn to Judges chapter 6. Hopefully you guys all brought a Bible. This is a Bible study. And we're going to work through most of and touch on many key points in chapter 6 and chapter 7 tonight. So while you're turning there and looking around to see who did and didn't bring a Bible tonight, I want everyone to kind of put a picture in your mind. I want you guys to think of something that is the most important thing to you, or think of those things that are most important to you in your life. For me, this is a picture of my family, and outside of the Lord, this is the most important thing in the world to me. Definitely the most important gift that the Lord has given me. They hold an immeasurable amount of value in my life. I know you're wondering probably about the little smiley sticker there and over one of the faces. Dre was added to our family by the Lord a few months ago, but because he's still in the fostering program, we're not allowed to show his face online or social media, so we get the fun little smiley face sticker. And the rest of these up here are tools we would commonly use to write or compose our story, right? A pencil, pen. We've got an eraser. I feel like I've needed a big one of those sometimes in my life. Some whiteout maybe. And before computers, these tools are what somebody would use to write a novel, to write a story, to write a letter, or even to change or erase a story, right? To edit something. How often do we want to pick up one of these tools on an eternal level and try to write or change our story? In our home, most days are at least partially consumed with some kind of sporting activity. My son Brady and I have been known to spend several hours out in the yard perfecting his swing or working on a technique, preparing for a baseball game, maybe practicing some pitching out in the yard. And when we're not playing baseball, another favorite activity of ours is just shooting some hoops down at the basketball hoop down by the road. And our foster son, he has a passion for basketball, and daily he reminds us that he's training for the NBA draft, and as soon as he's out of high school, that's where he's headed. Over the past couple of years, I've had the question asked to me several times from Brady and now our foster son, while we're out, playing in the yard, why am I not playing a major league sport, right? Why didn't I keep playing sports when I was little? And if I could go back, wouldn't I want to go back and continue on with some kind of sporting career or something glamorous like that? And I'm sure now that it's been brought up, you guys are probably asking yourselves the same question. Why am I not playing in the NBA, right? Well, the truth is, I'm just not that good. So I know to 11-year-old boys, their dad looks like a world-class athlete. But in a few years, they're going to realize that I only looked like Shaq on the basketball court because they were only 4 foot 10 inches tall. And when you crank the rim down to 7 feet and you're 2 feet taller than your opponents, it's pretty easy to block every shot and dunk over everyone. What they don't realize is because I'm so much taller than them, that I have a much better view of what's going on in the game and what should be done. Think of a coordinator in a football game. They sit in the suites high above the game, not on the sideline, so that they can see the plays break down. They can see everything going on in the field and how they develop. This is how God sees the things in our lives. He's so much higher. He sees the play completely different than we do. But the boys still regularly ask the question, why don't you try out right now? Why did you stop playing baseball? If you could go back, wouldn't you want to keep playing? Isaiah 55, 8 and 9 says, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, nor are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts." How often in our lives and in our marriages do we react or make decisions selfishly based on what we want or what we think is the right move when we know that the Lord above has a much better view of what is going on and what is about to happen? I mean, how much bigger is God than us? His ways and thoughts are higher than ours. Doesn't he have a much better view of what we should do? So back in Judges 6, we're at a time where Israel is being oppressed. One of those many times where Israel's under oppression and they've kind of hit rock bottom. And it's funny, like we always seem to wait until we have completely hit rock bottom before we reach out and trust the Lord, don't we? I mean, you think we would all have learned by now. And the Israelites seem to be no different than we are today. In my own life, I can think of all the pain and suffering that I could have saved or avoided from my wife or myself if I would have just trusted the Lord in the beginning and not as a last resort. So in Judges chapter 6, starting in verse 12 and through 13 says, "The angel of the Lord appeared to him and said to him, 'The Lord is with you, O valiant warrior.' Then Gideon said to him, 'O my Lord, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us?' So the angel of the Lord appears to Gideon, and Gideon right away begins to question him. So often we want to take the faith part out of it. We tell ourselves if we could just see, we would believe it. I wonder if Gideon had said that to himself or even thought that. I wonder how many of us sitting here tonight have questioned the Lord in his direction for us. Lord, I'm having this battle with my spouse. Lord, the finances just aren't working. Lord, our kids, they just don't seem headed in the right direction. Where are all those signs and miracles that you promised us? And we feel tempted to pick up that eraser, to pick up that pen and start writing our own story. We always think in the end that our current view is better than the view that God has. We know the easy way out, what's right in front of us, right? We can see that next step. We can't see all the way down the field like God does. But we still think we should probably just edit this little section right in front of us here and make a few of our own notes. So God is questioning Gideon, or Gideon is questioning God, sorry. And now let's move on to Judges 6:17. So Gideon says to him, "If now I have found favor in your sight, then show me a sign that it is you who speak with me." I just need a sign, God. Give me some proof, right? The angel of the Lord wasn't enough. I need something else. I need another sign so I can know for sure. We're told that here on earth that seeing is believing, right? And back in verse 12, we read the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon. So we can assume that he saw the angel of the Lord. He saw, and he still wanted more proof. It's funny, I can look back on several stages of my life and several storms my marriage has been in. What's funny is through the times, some of those of not even really knowing the Lord, I still reached out, to God, asking him for signs. We always have that call, that need for the Lord. I mean, even when we don't realize it. And even when we do know him, we want him to just lay it all out. We want to know what the Lord knows. It's too hard to walk by faith alone. I just need you to lay it all out for me, God. I mean, we don't want to step out onto the water. We want God to build a bridge for us. Sometimes, along with asking for those signs, come deals, don't they? I mean, we shortcut our faith by trying to make deals with the Lord. We want the Lord to prove himself to us before we get up and start moving for him, before we're willing to make a move at all. So back here in chapter 6, Gideon in verses 36 and 37, I mean, he was afraid here. And he asked God for more signs. We look here, and it says, "Then Gideon said to God, 'If you will deliver Israel through me, as you have spoken, behold, I will put a fleece of wool on the threshing floor. If there is dew on the fleece only, and it is dry on all the ground, then I will know that you will deliver Israel through me, as you have spoken.'" He makes a deal with the Lord. And if you read further, he actually asked that for another deal. I mean, he actually tries to make two deals with the Lord. And down in 39, he even knew it would be displeasing to God. We read, and it says here, "Then Gideon said to God, 'Don't let your anger burn against me, that I may speak once more.'" Don't let your anger burn against me. Like, when was the last time that you and your spouse attempted to make a deal with God, right? Knowing that that's not how he works, right? When are you like, "Hey, God, I need this in my life, and I'm willing to do this if you're willing to do this for me. God, if you would grant this wish for me, I'll start following you harder. Like then I'll know it's really you. God, it feels like you're calling us to serve together in that ministry, but I'm not quite sure. If you give me a sign, though, then I'll know for sure, and we'll get up and we'll start serving, and we'll know exactly what you're telling us." How about when God is calling you to make a decision about your finances that you might not be comfortable with? Maybe it's a promotion you're up for, and you find yourself promising God that if you get this promotion, if you get this raise, that you'll start giving more to the church, you'll start giving more to charity. God, I'll make this deal with you, right? We want to skip right over the faith part, and we want to start writing our own needs into the story. And hey, though, God, if you make sure that I get what I want out of this, I'll make sure that you get a little cut in it also. We try to make a deal with God because we think that we have something that's worth offering to him. God doesn't ask us to make deals with him. He wants us to trust him. So what happens in our life when God really asks us to step out of our comfort zone? Those times when things can get really uncomfortable, and maybe he puts that couple in front of you that need your testimony. Or sometimes even scarier, like that couple that they just need the gospel. Here's a part where I think things really start to get uncomfortable for Gideon. In Judges chapter 7, as we continue on in the story, we'll start in verse 2 and read 2 and 3 here. It says, "The Lord said to Gideon, 'The people who are with you are too many for me to give Midian into their hands.' For Israel would become boastful, saying, 'My own power has delivered me.' Now therefore come, proclaim in the hearing of the people, saying, 'Whoever is afraid and trembling, let him return and depart from Mount Gilead.' So 22,000 people returned, but 10,000 remained." I wonder if Gideon right there started to think that God, this is kind of nuts, right? Like this is crazy. I've got a better idea. I'll tell you what, I know that you are God, and you did a couple of nice tricks when I questioned you. But taking my 30,000 men into battle, to me, sounds like a whole lot better idea than the 10,000 you are suggesting. If Gideon had written his own story, I'm sure that his story would have involved going to battle with the original 30,000. In fact, I'm going to guess that after we look at this next part, that he would have loved to have the 10,000 back. So as we continue down in verse 7, it says, "The Lord said to Gideon, 'I will deliver you with the 300 men who lapped, and will give the Midianites into your hands. So let all the other people go, each man to his home.'" So the Lord kind of separates a few more and gets the number down to 300. In our life, does our faith start to waver when we're not in the presence or in the comfort of our own like-minded friends? How do our feelings about serving God change depending on who's there or how many people we have around us? When was the last time you signed up to serve the Lord when it didn't revolve around who else you knew was going to be there? So after all of that, in chapter 7 and verse 16, it says, "He divided the 300 men into 3 companies, and he put trumpets and empty pitchers into the hands of all of them, with torches inside the pitchers. No weapons, no army, only a few hundred men with trumpets, pitchers, and torches. And God delivers the Midianites into Israel's hands in a fashion that only he could. Not one from Gideon's army lost." Gideon almost surely felt the desire at any one of these points in the story to pick up the pen and start making his own revisions. You know what, God? Going to battle with only 300 sounds epic, but I'll take my chances with the 30,000. And trumpets and pitchers? How about we at least bring the swords and shields, just in case? If he had, I wonder how many men would have lost their lives in that battle. How many visits to wives and children and mothers would have needed to be done to explain to them that their husbands, fathers, and sons had died in a battle? So how big is the loss in our own life when we take the pen and start writing our own stories? Remember that picture I asked you guys to put in your mind, that picture of the thing or the things that were the most important to you in your life. Had I written my own story, the one thing that I know to be true is that this is what that picture would have looked like today. all of the beautiful things that God gave me, the things that only He could give me, would all be gone, and I would be left by myself. I mean, I look at this pen here, and I see this pen, and I know it has a limited amount of ink in it. And that's kind of like what we are here. When we take that pen out of God's hand, our pens have a limited amount of ink. So why would we want to use that when we have a limitless God with an unlimited amount of ink and an unlimited platform to write our stories with? How much better does God know than we do? So if I could go back, would I change anything significant in my life? Would I play a major sport? Would I want to do any of that stuff in my life? Not a chance. There are so many things in my life, good things, that I can't replace, and I wouldn't have known to write for my own story. I didn't have the view from above like God did. I wouldn't have known to write it out with the family I have today and everything that God has provided me. My story wouldn't have been as good. So I hope that tonight we can all spend some time looking at the gifts that only God could give to us, reminding ourselves today, for the next time we want to edit what God is writing for us or has written for us. So hopefully we can trust God enough to leave the pen in His hands. I hope you guys all have a great time in your small groups tonight, and I can't wait to see you all in person next week. Have a great week, church.